How's it going, everybody? I am MJ Kreyzer, though admittedly most of you probably know me as the real life version of Stitch, and today I'm going to be breaking down Stitch's prisoner loadout, starting from the base layers and then working my way up to the big pieces and then back down to the small details. I'll show you everything that it takes to be able to put together Stitch's prisoner loadout so you can cosplay the absolute hell out of it. I'm also going to be showing you different ways you can go about building the getup so that you'll be able to cut corners, shave down the price, without people actually noticing that there's any sort of discrepancies between the costume that you're wearing and the costume that's actually being worn in-game. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so the first piece of gear, which is also the gear that you can cheap out on the most, is the prison jumpsuit. Don't feel like you have to spend a lot of money on this one. Honestly, it's going to be buried beneath so many layers of tactical gear, people won't even be able to tell the difference, and all it's going to do is just make you have to spend more money. If you have to err on the side of it being too tight or too baggy, I would honestly go on the side of it being too baggy, just because once you start getting it on, it can start working its way up into cracks and crevices that you really didn't anticipate and make it an absolute nightmare to wear. Plus, you can always tuck pieces away inside of the vest or behind the belt or whatever to make it fit a little bit better, and then if it's baggy in certain places, you'll just be able to hide that beneath the gear. So, prisoner jumpsuit, the first step. You have to put this on in a certain order, mind you, and it can be a little bit meticulous, and if you want, I can make another video on how to actually suit up in the prisoner jumpsuit, or you can just jump through and wade through the massive live video that I did a few months back. But that's another story. I'll just get back here to the next piece of equipment, and that is the shoulder harness. This right here goes across your back, and then these pieces right here connect down to the belt. Now, the way that this actually has to work is after you put this on and then you end up putting on the vest, then this has to go through the vest holes and then connect down to your belt. Now, those corners that I told you that you're gonna be able to cut in order to be able to build the outfit for less money, this is one of those corners. I'm sure a lot of people don't even realize that Stitch is wearing it in the game, but if you want to really get down to the nitty-gritty of the details, then this is something that you want to get. Now, if you really want to spend a lot of money, then you actually aren't going to get this fabric holster. You're going to get a leather law enforcement holster from Safariland. But once you start dealing with stuff from Safariland and actual real steel brands, it's going to get pricey. We're talking in the thousands of dollars. So unless you plan on wearing this thing everywhere, like to funerals, family gatherings, weddings, shit like that, then just get this one. Alright, so the next base layer is going to be the prisoner belt, which is just a brown leather belt. Because it's actual leather, even fake leather will get pricey, but because it's actual leather, you're going to be spending a lot of money for something that you really won't ever use outside of this cosplay. So the way that I went about it is instead, I just have a leather weight belt. I actually already had this weight belt, funny enough. I've had this one for probably 7 or 8 years. So if you buy it, it's gonna last you for a long time. One thing that's good to remember about cosplay is that you wanna try and get gear that you can repurpose. Then it helps to justify the cost of it, especially when the cost starts skyrocketing. Like all of this stuff, for the most part, I have used for a variety of things. So this right here is a SWAT vest. It's an Airsoft SWAT vest, and it is not a perfect replica of what Stitch wears in the game. That vest is actually really difficult to find. I masked off different areas like the fields of Velcro and the edges just to make the vest itself pop a little bit more, and then I spray painted it green. I have a shotgun bandolier right here, dummy rounds, just get dummy rounds, okay? And then that mounts to the field of Velcro, pretty convenient. The other side of the vest, essentially I have got a bag strap, and then I've got a shoulder pad from MAxpedition going over top of it. And this is the most interesting part of it, is that on Stitch's prisoner loadout, he has ballistic goggles up on his shoulder. So what I did is I just got cheap Airsoft ballistic goggles, fed the strap through, and then out the other side. And then what'll happen is that once the entire outfit is on, I'll connect this and this front part of the strap right here to the law enforcement belt, which is one of the final layers that we put on. So moving on to the law enforcement belt. This right here is not nearly as expensive as you think it would be. In fact, it's actually pretty affordable. After that, we have the holster. Now this right here is not the holster that Stitch uses in the game. In fact, if you look at the holster that he uses in the game, it's the same sort of leather holster that he has under his arm, which is a leather holster from Safariland. Go on to Amazon, you'll probably be able to find other similar holsters that are cheaper, but still pretty darn expensive because it is in fact leather. Nobody's gonna notice, but if you feel like you wanna drop a little bit of extra skrill in order to be able to be 100% authentic, then go right ahead. What I used, however, is a plastic Blackhawk Serpa knockoff. It's not gonna stand up to any sort of abuse. It's not the sort of thing that you would necessarily take into combat. Now I went with this for 2 reasons. As I explained earlier, I like to be able to repurpose gear and use them in other projects. On top of that, it's also very expensive. This right here is a cheap option, it does the job, and nobody's gonna be none the wiser. We have the knee pads. These are Exo knee pads from 511, even though in the game, Stitch uses Condor knee pads. They are much nicer than Condor knee pads, but in the game, Stitch uses Condor knee pads, and lucky for you, they're cheaper. This right here is the headset. You're not gonna wanna get the real version of this. It is insanely expensive, and I wouldn't recommend it. Now we're going to a part of the uniform where some people might believe that these are fine details. I believe that even though they're smaller details, they're absolutely necessary, and that would be the chains and cuffs. Now the reason why I don't consider these to be finer details is because it's the chains and the cuffs that actually help to better communicate the fact that this is a prison loadout. Then you have the cuffs. These right here from Vipertech, they are very simple, very straightforward. These are legit cuffs, they work just fine. I honestly believe that you'd be able to get away with just buying some cheap prop handcuffs from the kiddie section at the grocery store. Now we're gonna get into the finer details. Things like dummy smoke grenades or dummy flashbangs. And in case you were wondering, no, I did not forget the mask. So this right here is a custom mask. You won't be able to get the exact one, but I was able to go onto Amazon and find something that was similar, but then you also have the cheaper option, which is between 20 and 30 bucks. This guy right here was pricey, and the one that I found on Amazon is about 75 bucks. After shipping, it'll be between 100 and 110, so it is not cheap, especially since this right here isn't the actual mask that Stitch uses in Call of Duty. It's the original mask, but then they transitioned over to the leather mask, which connects with the headband on the headset. So I have not been able to find anything that resembles that, so if you want to go for that mask, you're gonna have to build it from scratch or get creative. I'm not a seamstress, much less a seamstress who works with leather. So another one of those fine details that you'll be able to skip over if you don't want to spend the money, but it'll add a little bit of extra value to your outfit, is going to be the dummy radio and the radio pouch. This right here is a black 511 radio pouch, and it's connected to a MOLLE panel which has Velcro on the one side. So all you have to do is just slap it onto the back of your SWAT vest and it's good to go. The last thing, and the reason why this is last, is because it's really hard to handle footwear because it can get to be so expensive, and you have to find just the right thing. So what I have though, actually is the same boots. These right here are Paratrooper Boots. They're 11 inches, and they have the zipper that goes up the side. The problem is that these guys right here were 150 bucks. And if you don't wear boots a lot, that's a lot of money to spend on footwear. So I haven't been able to find a cheaper option, so what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to tick off all the boxes. As long as they're black leather boots, and they're tall, and you tuck the prison pants into them, they're gonna look just fine. Alright everybody, so that does it for Stitch's prisoner loadout. Now there's gonna be a few items missing from the in-game model that are a bit more prominent that I don't actually have here because I didn't want to spend the money. You know what, sue me. And that would be the butt pouch, the SWAT helmet, and the zip tie restraints. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to slide onto my DMs and I'd be more than happy to help you out in any way that I can. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Kreyzer, on Twitter @KreyzerMJ. Make sure that you obliterate the subscribe button, like the video, share the channel with your friends, maybe print out some pass-along cards. Drop my name at your next family gathering. Tell your girlfriend, tell your boyfriend, tell the people involved in your polyamorous relationship. I don't know. So here's my most recent video, here's my live stream, here's the subscribe button, whatever.